This is Nick Christopher from Mob Tales. Hope you guys are doing well. Um, Today I have a return guest who was on I think about 2 weeks ago or something like that. His name is John Franzese Jr., who happened to be John Sonny Francese's son. We were going to return back to his story from where we left off last time. And we're very happy and very thankful that John was able to give us some more time. Thanks, John.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Nick. Thank you again. Like I said, I'm all new to a lot of this stuff. I really appreciate having me on here.
No, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, and
uh, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if Pete knows. I think Pete remembers a friend of mine named Leo or Jamie Kalpakis knows Pete, I think, if I'm correct.
Well, I know Jamie. I know Jamie a long time.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, Jamie
Yeah.
went to the same church I went to years ago. So,
Then it's you. I'm sorry. I thought I had the wrong person, but yeah, he says to say hello. I went to school with Jamie.
oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, we're both Greek. That's how we know each other.
there you go. Great
uh,
stuff.
yeah. So I'm gonna just I don't honestly speaking. Um, I'm trying to remember what we talked about last time. I have a pretty good idea, and I know we went in a lot of different angles. Um, but I know we spoke about your youth in that situation and how you got influenced through your father and Michael as well. Um, but I want to get more into your, before I get into the, like, addiction, when you got unfortunately addicted in the
Okay.
late 80s, before we get into that, I want to talk, I want to go backtrack before that even happened. Because from from photos I've seen with you, you were a big, muscular guy. You were big. And you were in good shape, I think, back then, I believe, from what it looked like. And I'm wondering if that was one of your size, the way you handled yourself, the way you presented yourself, and was a way of getting in the good graces of a lot of the guys that were already made. Forget the fact that your father was who your father was. I think by on your own, you, I think, made a lot of inroads just being who you are, if I'm correct.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. And Nick, I have to tell you, I used to get into a lot of fights, but what you're referring to is after 2001 is when I started weight training. And by 2003, I was like 202, 204, 199 with about 3 to 5% body fat or something of that. I mean, I was really into working out, but in the 80s, I mean, in the 70s and 80s, I used to get into a lot of fights. I think, I wasn't the toughest guy in the world, but a lot of people didn't like fighting me. Whether they won or not is one thing, but I could handle myself. I boxed for about a year or two and had about 5 or 6 amateur fights, and I knew how to handle myself. And that was one of the things that was what you were saying is one of the things people liked about me. And I liked the question, but there was something else. It's like unlike I am now, I used to listen really well. My father used to say, "You be a good soldier." And when I would have the privilege, and I did have a lot of privilege being around good fellows, like for instance, my cousin Tootie really liked me. I mean, I would drive Tootie around I wouldn't say all the time, but I did. We used to go up to the Bronx. Danny Pagano, I think it was Danny Pagano, or he had a cousin with a different name. They were captains in the Genovese family. The crazy thing was, Tootie used to have me drive him up there, and it was a Democratic club. Like that was the title of their social club, the Democratic Club. And I always, oh, geez, these guys, God bless them, they disguise it with the Democratic Club. But Tootie would leave me outside there, and he'd take off with. I could be wrong. They're either the Paganos, not the young one, like a little bit younger than me, who ended up being a captain too, but his uncle or yeah, his uncle, one of the uncles, it should have the same name, uh, was there, and Tootie would see him a lot because Tootie had a lot of construction stuff, and they had a lot of the construction jobs, and they'd leave me for like 6 hours and say, "Don't move." One day, yeah, I mean, don't move, and I'm just standing there, and one day, one of the guys came out of the club and said, "Hey, do you want some coffee?" And and I said, "Yeah, I would." He says, "Don't worry, it's okay. You don't have to wait out here." He meant just stay close. And I never knew when he was coming back. So I had to just stay. And it was a stretch to go to the bathroom. But I think those are some of the things they looked at. And like Ciro, I forget Ciro's first name, or we called him Ciro. I know that he had a wooden leg. He was another soldier with the Genovese. And a lot of times people didn't know, but I spent time with Ciro in his club and in, I think it's Maspeth or Middle Village. And Dominic Cataldo used to be around too, another good fellow with the Columbos. But my dad was really close with Dominic, so was Michael. And I used to spend a lot of time with them. And, they'd tell you, get in the car, come on, we got to take a ride. And I could have plans to go to a wedding that night. But when you're in the car with them, you can't say, hey, I got to go to a wedding. You just do what you say.
Yeah,
And
that wouldn't fly.
that would apply, and that's one of the things I think they look at past. They want to make sure you're tough, but I think they also want to know that you know how to listen. And a lot of guys like me for that. Donnie Shack said at a wedding once, we're in the bathroom, and I took Tootie, but Tootie got a ride home from somebody else. And Donnie Shacks was there, needed a ride home. And Tootie said, you take Donnie home. And so I was spending the night in the wedding with Donnie, and we're in the bathroom, and I forget who was in there, but he made me feel really good. Donnie Shacks said there were people in the bathroom, and Donnie said, hey, this kid, whenever there's trouble, Johnny's the first one around. And he was a captain at the time, Donnie, and it made me feel really good. But I didn't. It wasn't that I was correcting you. You were right. I was really big till about 2014. I stood that big. But when I was younger, I was just an athlete, and I could fight. I mean, one of the best things about me, I could take a punch, and that helped. You as somebody, you get tired punching me, even if they're winning, and then they'd be done.
That's
So
fine.
yeah, so
Yeah,
if
so
that answers your
yeah,
question.
no, it does. It's basically, I mean, what you're telling me actually kind of answers the question. Meaning, guys like Donnie Shacks, the Pagano brothers up in the Bronx. I think it's Danny Pagano. I think was his name. Um,
Okay.
I think it was Danny, but I think these like you just said, and like Tootie telling you to hang around.
Yeah.
I know he didn't meant for you to stand there for 6 hours. I know he just meant you to be around just in case they need anything, or if you need something from you, whatever. That's what it kind of means, really. It's not literally stand there for 6 hours, but it's a way. They of course, these guys always talk in riddles. So so it's basically, from what I understand from what you're telling me, it's kind of what I was alluding to, that they trusted you enough, not just because you were, Sonny's son, but I think they trusted you and they were testing you to say, okay, is he going to do what I'm going to say, or is he going to do something different? Is he going to hang out by the club, or is he going to go walk around somewhere else? So I think they
Right,
were testing you to see how loyal you are. And even the thing, what you said, you had a wedding to go to, but you were in the car. You couldn't say anything. So basically, the family came first, basically, like they say. It's whatever the family wants, you do. It's not like you can, oh, sorry, I'm going away right now. I'm leaving it. That doesn't happen. So your
right,
loyalty was being tested, I think. That's pretty much what it sounds like.
right.
And you kind of proved yourself. Um, to to go a little bit forward now, if if things were different, let's just say, let's just say you never got addicted to anything, you didn't fall into that devil trap. If that never happened, do you think in your mind you would have stuck in there and maybe even became a made man? Do you think that might have happened?
Well, that was the goal all along. I mean, I was, like I said, I was proposed at an early age. And the point was for me to become a member. I think I had told you, Junior was very close with me since I was a little kid. And him and my dad were close. And like Michael was a good fellow, but him and my dad had so much heat, it was a little easier for me to be the one spending time with Junior, and they gave my presence a lot of courtesy because it helped what they needed to do to be in touch with my dad, uh, as much as they could. I'm not saying I brought the most important information back and forth, but yeah, they saw that. Yes, that was the goal. As a matter of fact, I told every good fellow that I was close with, even Ciro from another family. My father taught me at a young age, at 18 years old, when he came home. He says, "You make sure you tell everybody that you're at their disposal." Here's what my father told me to say. He said, "Look, I know you don't need any help, but I'm here to do anything for you. I'm at your disposal," with a presupposition where if they wanted me to hurt somebody or do a piece of work, that I would make that available to them. And I did that with every good fellow I was close enough to, that I had a relationship with. So yeah, yes, that was the goal. And don't forget, in 2005, when during the investigation, they were going to straighten me out again. The government pulled me out of there before it happened. Um, so a lot of times that didn't come up in the case or in any of the. It didn't have to, because they pulled me out of there. But that was on Frankie Camp and Michael uh, Catapano sat me down and said, "We're going to straighten you out soon, and we'll let you know when." And so that was a definite.
But if, like I said, if the addiction didn't come into play, would you have, looking back now, knowing about what the life is all about, how treacherous it is and how dangerous it is, and so forth, regardless of the money and everything. Do you, in looking, knowing this knowledge and looking back now, um, are you glad you didn't get involved?
Nick, it's the craziest thing. I thank God for alcoholism I thank God for addiction.
Pretty great thing to thank God for.
Well, because in those days, that life was everything. Like I probably would have went to jail for the rest of my life if I had to. I probably would have lived uh, either killing somebody or getting killed. I would have lived in a small little limited state of consciousness, like where our little world, organized
Mhm.
crime has its, I only saw the world as us versus everyone else. And the only thing that could have beat that out of me was the brokenness of the accumulated years of the progression of this really serious malady of addiction. And it just did so much that it got to a point inside of me that allowed me to accept somebody else's idea of the only way I could ever live soberly and of sound mind was to follow a bunch of guidelines and to accept a higher power, which I call God in my life, but not my way, their way. And it changed everything for me. Uh, do you know what I mean by thanking God for
Mhm.
alcoholism and addiction? Nick, figure if I would have never became an alcoholic, right? Say I never got arrested, say I never got killed, say in whatever happened with my family, to this day, I was a successful mobster, had a house, a wife, and that's a beautiful thing. But do you know the mind frame I would have lived under? How small and closed, and I would have been 66 years old with such less experience with different people, making new friends, trying new things in life. So I I would say that to this day, there was more than a silver lining that had happened to me, though it was a price. It came with a cost, and I'm lucky and I'm blessed that I didn't die, before the miracle happened.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. That's for sure. But sometimes, as we know, sometimes God makes us go through something bad where at the end it's actually something good. So he makes us, sometimes that happens.
You seem
Um,
pretty to understand. So you seem to have had a couple of experiences that showed you that too.
Probably way too many. Uh, 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 well, now getting to the part where you unfortunately got mixed up in the alcoholism and so forth. What actually? Because I mean, I don't know a lot of guys in their life. They do get mixed up in some drugs or alcoholism. It happens. A lot of guys. You're not the only one in their life. Well, most of them usually try to stay pretty much straight. Um, I mean, meaning in that respect, not in anything
Right.
else. Um, if you were to recall how, what brought you to that point? Was it influence, someone else's influence? Was it depression? Was it, so people get a more better understanding of what unfortunately brought you to that point?
Nick, I spent since 1985 until 2001, 16 years, I kept trying to figure out why this happened to me. Like, how could it? In every other area of my life, I was more than satisfactory. Why would I keep doing something I know I don't want to do? And that's ruining everything I want in this world. I spent 16 years trying to figure that out until one day in 2001 when I realized Nobody's telling me why, because it doesn't matter. What was proposed in front of me was, regardless of why, a group of people said to me, we have a way out today moving forward. And I don't know if I needed a reason. Lord knows, it seems like I have a lot of reasons that could have happened. I really don't spend a lot of time because I get to process my life going forward. When I never got sober or stopped drinking or smoking crack, I kept trying to figure, how did I do that again? Why did I do it? I knew what was going to happen. Why did I do it? The evidence was so much greater than the fact that I did it, meaning I knew better. I consider it a spiritual malady that affects me mentally and physically. And that even when I'm not using, unless I find the answer, that malady will still be in effect. And that malady, I could go 3 months, I can go 2 days, I could go 9 months in those 16 years, but eventually I drink again. So until I found this answer, which I think is a spiritual awakening, and it happened to me in 2001, not for any good reason that I did. There are better people than me, never made it. And what I'm trying to say is, if I worry too much about the why, I'll be confused about, like, now I'm here with you and we're doing this together and the years have passed and whatever working, stay working, I know that when I was a kid, we never talked about my father being away. We never talked, me, my brothers, my son. I don't remember any of us ever saying, do we miss dad? Not because we didn't. I think all of us were just young kids that grew up in a household that never asked those questions. And I even hear my brother mentions it a lot too, and my sister Lorraine is very in touch with it. Uh, we just had a lot of pain, a lot of suffering as kids, disguised in a lot of wealth and external things. But we never got to process or talk or feel bad for each other. I don't remember giving my mother 1 ounce of my time of compassion and sympathy. It went both ways, or even my dad being in jail. We just didn't do that. And some people would say that my life was predisposed to being an addict and an alcoholic. I don't deny with their claim. I just don't feel that way. I feel like, I don't know why it happened, but it did. And when I realized I needed to find a way or accept the way to the answer, I haven't had a drink or a drug for 24 years, 7 months, or 8 months, and so many days. And does that help?
Oh yeah, definitely for sure.
All right.
Thank God for that. You're no one like garbage anymore.
Do
That's
you
good.
remember what Carmine Q, you were friends with Carmine, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you know what he used to call me when there was cocaine around? He used to call me Godzilla. He started the rumor, he said, because you eat and snort cocaine like a Godzilla, because I wanted to smoke it and they would never let me smoke it around them. I'd only could snort it. So he'd buy a bunch and I'd snort every piece. He says, be careful of Godzilla. And
That's
yeah,
fun.
so.
Well, during this time when you were unfortunately mixed up in this, I'm assuming your dad knew.
Oh, my whole Nick, I used to go visit my dad because before I started smoking coke, I went from snorting to shooting it, and I'm not better than anybody else. I just never did heroin. Just didn't work for. I didn't like downers. Didn't work for me. I liked alcohol and cocaine, and I tried shooting coke, and I loved it. And you know, the rumors. That's when the rumors in the neighborhood. My cousin Tootie called me down. My Joey Brancato, Michael, everybody. It was so obvious. And I went to visit my dad one day. I'm pretty sure it was Otisville because I wouldn't show up for visits and all of that. And I had a long sleeve shirt on in the summertime. And my dad was saying, son, why are you wearing a long sleeve shirt? And I'm like, nothing, Dad. It's cold in the visiting room. I didn't want to be cold for the visit for 4 hours. And my dad looked at me and he said, son, if you got a problem, I can't help you if you don't tell me. He said, son, you're going to catch this thing called AIDS. Don't you see it's going around? Well, let me tell you, when he got out and I was drinking and getting high, and he was mad at me and he was saying, you're going to die. You don't take. And you know what I said to him? I said, you jinxed me that day. You cursed me. Because of you, I have it. That's how sick my head was.
Yeah.
Sure, they knew. Nick, I stole everything. I started stealing, lying. Well, my father used to say, even before drugs and alcohol, I think Michael would say the same thing. What do you mean? I used to always ask them, can I borrow 1,000? Can I borrow 700? Can I have 1,500, right? Or 30,000? They would both go, what do you mean borrow? You never pay anyone back. Just ask us for the money. Don't say borrow, because we know you're not paying us back. And that was before drugs and alcohol. But then once I started, when it got real bad, and everyone knew, there was overwhelming evidence around everywhere. Everyone knew, but for a long time, I wouldn't admit it. I wouldn't admit it.
Now, that's pretty interesting because usually you were still on the street at this time, obviously. So that's interesting because most of the time, from what I understand, if any member, associate, whatever, is at all involved in any of this kind of thing, normally they don't want them around because they can't trust them most of the time. So I'm assuming your how do you say what's the word I'm looking for here? Your value kind of dropped. I'm assuming.
There were times when I'd be talking to my father, and I had gotten sober again. I mean, I had, there were times in those 16 years where I'd stop drinking. I'd stop getting high. I'd go right back to everything. Things would get good right away. And my father would say to me, son, you're the low man on the totem pole. You gotta, if we need something, you gotta do this, and we gotta be fair to everybody. And he always said that to me. He was very realistic about it in that regard. And I remember Junior liked me a lot. A lot of people liked me. Nick, I was so bad. I think they felt bad for me. I don't think they ever thought I'd turn, but I was so bad that that they felt bad for me. You couple that with my father, Michael, Tootie, maybe Junior. I tend to think there were a lot of guys who wouldn't want to kill me, and I let's put it this way: I got very fortunate. I mean, I didn't get killed through the war. My father used to say, look, you're an easy target. They're going to kill you. And if they kill you, it's going to make them look stronger during that war and stuff. And he said, not because you're a junkie, because you're my son and it'll look like our side is weak that you get killed. Um, yeah, I mean, these were real conversations we had. I'm lucky I'm lucky I'm here, Nick. I'm lucky
Yeah,
I'm
that's
here.
for sure. Um, I also find interesting is your dad. Um, he lived to like what 101. It was, I think it was
103.
103. That's right. Um, which is absolutely amazing. Not considering the guy he was. I mean, it's shocking. But I remember when they pinched him. I think he was 100 years old at the time for sticking down strip clubs or something like that, which I found absolutely hilarious. Here's a guy in a wheelchair. Yeah, okay, yeah, he's taking down clubs. All right. That to me was total BS. And I'm sure you heard about it, so you knew at the time that this happened. Um, I mean, I'm sure, I wonder how you might have felt when you heard this. I'm sure you were freaking probably laughing your head off saying, what? I mean, in a sarcastic way, I mean.
Nick, I think also that was part of the recordings that I made. And the funny thing was he was in his like 88, 89, 90s, and he was out every night with all of us. I mean, there was like he had about 16 guys in his crew and about 4 or 5 really good tough guys, guys that if they had to do work could do work. And he was out, and I'm not just saying this. His friends will tell you he was out 5 to 6 nights a week, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. He
Wow.
stood he stood away from the Hustler and the Penthouse Club, but those were part of the indictments, Nick, that I recorded. They were getting 50,000 every 3 months um, from the Penthouse Club. And I don't know the figure for the Hustler Club, but we also had all the things inside, like the girls, the tribute they pay to the house mother, and we had some managers and a part of the something to do with the restaurant, and one of those at the Penthouse Club, it was all on the recordings. I had to keep postponing it. I was supposed to stick up the manager of the Penthouse Club when he left, and we were supposed to be tipped off from the other manager, when the guy left, and I was going to follow him in the car. It's all on recordings and transcripts. Um, yeah,
But
I
that was,
mean,
but that was a lot earlier than that was a lot earlier because he was when he got pinched for the strip club thing, he was about 100, and that was in the 2000s, wasn't it? If I'm correct.
no, Nick, when he was 100, he got released. 2000, the investigation that when I was a cooperating witness began in 2004. Forgive me, I don't know exactly. Somewhere between 2004, 2005, and they pulled me out around 2006.
Okay, I get it now.
You get it now? Hey,
Yeah,
between
yeah,
the two of
yeah.
us, how are we supposed to put chronologics
I
together?
know.
I know. Yeah.
Right? Okay, that
So,
makes sense now.
yeah. And yes.
So basically, at his age, he was actually doing something like this. That's like blows my mind.
He, Nick, he never stopped. He was a gangster to the end. I mean, he'd never admit it, of course, but he was a gangster to the end. My mother, we had him, there was a violation in the 90s, the later 90s. They had a picture of him with Lenny, I think it
Jim
was,
Maria?
no, who?
Di Maria.
No, not Lenny DiMaria, though we were around Lenny DiMaria a lot. Uh,
Yeah, Lenny was a good guy, actually.
Denny was a great guy. My father tells a story about him in prison. They were walking the yard, and I was visiting, and Lenny was in the visiting room with his people. And my father said, I'll tell you a story. We're walking around the yard, and Lenny saw a guy he didn't like. So as he was walking, he said, "Excuse me," to my father, walked up to the guy, kicked him in the balls, turned around, and kept walking. My father said he's crazy, that Lenny. And
Yeah. But Lenny on the street had a good rep. I mean, he was a
yeah,
gentleman.
Lenny DiMaria, no question about it. But I'm talking about a soldier in the Columbos. Uh, they had a picture with this, I think with Lenny Sasso or Lenny. It wasn't Lenny DiMaria. He
Oh,
was
okay.
with the Gambinos anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
no, this was Lenny with the Columbos. He was a soldier under my dad, and we were out. My dad got violated for the meeting. And there was my father got arrested, got violated. We didn't hear from him for 2 days. The second day, the lawyer comes with a picture of my father and Lenny, and I'm there, and my mother, she gets on the phone, and the first fight, so we're nervous. We didn't hear if is he okay, is he in MCC, and the first thing he says to my mother, "Don't believe those pictures." And my mother hangs up on him. And she goes, I'm tired of him. Don't believe the pictures. They got him sitting down, 16 different pictures. You're all there. What do you mean, don't believe him? To this day, he's going to deny the pictures to me? She said, I had enough of this life.
I,
So, yeah,
I,
she got mad at him for that because he denies everything, you
of
know?
course he does.
Of
I
course.
I met your mom. I met your mother Tina.
Did you come over my house?
No, I met her
Oh,
and in the city with
okay.
a friend of mine that knew your dad. Um, his name escapes me now all of a sudden. Oh, I mentioned his name last time in the last show, and for some reason I'm losing it right now. I have no idea. He made a movie about your dad's story, about his life story, more or less.
Oh, Ken Kushner. Good.
Not,
Chris
no,
Saletti.
um, I don't know why. I can't think of his name right
Not
now.
Danny Pagano.
No, not Danny Pagano. Um,
Not Danny Provenzano.
no, Danny Provenzano. I know. I'm,
Okay, so
I'm thinking on it.
it's
I'm
not
Dan-
Chris Saletti or Kevin
Yes,
Kushner.
that's it. Chris Saletti.
Chris Saletti. Yeah.
I know Chris
Right.
well, and he did a film, which was actually pretty good. I think I mentioned it in the last show, which is really good actually. He never got it completed, and I had the pleasure of meeting your mom there, and
Okay.
it was very nice. I had a good conversation with her. Really, really cool. Um, so I had the pleasure of meeting her at one time. So that was pretty nice.
Great.
So that was
Okay.
many years ago. I don't know, what was that, 20 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, or something like that.
Yeah, it
Um,
was a while.
a while ago, but it was pretty good project. Too bad it didn't go where he wanted it to, but nevertheless, it was a very good depiction.
Great
Um,
stuff.
yeah. Um, now, getting towards the end of the show here, the last thing I just want to discuss quickly. I can imagine how it might have felt, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to say things. They're going to call you this, they're going to call you that. Look, I don't like the word rat. I don't like it myself. Um, you could say snitch. You can say, I think informant is good enough. But everybody does something for a reason. A lot of guys I know who flipped, like Johnny A. Light, Larry Mazur, Andrew DiDonato. I could go on and on. A lot of guys who I know, friends of mine. And they all have their good reasons. Sammy Gravano, you can even mention him, regardless of what people say about him. Everybody's got a reason. And a lot of people on the outside who never lived the life, didn't know anything about the street. always have a big mouth. The computer keyboard gangsters, I call them. So I always say to these people, until you live in these guys' shoes, keep your mouth shut. How would you know what the reason why they did what they did? Everybody's got a reason, you know,
Yeah.
and you had your reasons. So I could imagine how difficult it was for you to sit in a trial and testify, against your father. That could have probably harder than the drugs and alcohol you ever did.
Right. The I had been sober at that time. It was 2010, the trial, so I was sober 9 or 10 years because like the months change. Could have been 9.5 years, or it could have been 10. I don't remember the month of the trial. Um, but Nick, I don't feel I testified against my dad. I hurt my father. I testified against that life, and I had been living a different life. And Nick, let me ask you a question. Would any parent that has had a kid who overdosed have been called any of their friends that maybe told on the dealer? And their kid was still alive because of that? Would any of those parents that still have their child that could have seen that their child would have overdosed had this person not told on them? I mean, people want to call me a rat, and yes, I understand. In the context of that life, I don't live that life. And if I see something where other people are going to be hurt, then maybe I am culpable. It might cost me something, but it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and sometimes the right thing to do hurts people you love. I don't know if I'm right or if I'm wrong.
No, that makes sense. That
I
makes
mean,
sense.
think about it. If I didn't tell on him, if I didn't do this, but I got straightened out and I was a part of organized crime and I killed people, then I wouldn't be a rat. I mean, what are we talking about? Not,
Yeah.
I don't mean me and you. I mean, I just don't fathom that understanding anymore. If you
Well, most
kill
most
people,
people,
you're not a rat. But if you tell on people who kill people, you're a rat. I didn't have any cases against me. The FBI agent says it in interviews. They didn't come and say, here's a deal. They didn't come and do that with me. It was the right thing to do.
right?
Uh,
I understand. Well, it makes sense. I mean, people don't understand that theory. People in life don't get it either. I understand. The only thing I do understand, you like John A. Light, very similar situation. I'll explain why. Neither one of you were made, so neither one of you took an oath, right? There wasn't
right.
like anything where you signed a contract in blood. Yeah, like I'm not going to say anything, whatever. That wasn't the case with you or him. So technically speaking, you were pretty much a free agent to do whatever you wanted to do. Technically, they only saying they're putting that label because of who your dad was, more than anything else. And to me, more
Technic-
than the reason.
Technically, you're right. There's a lot of things, but a lot of people don't talk. Back in those days, if someone was a good fellow, all the brakes had to be put on for me. Like they had the position. A lot of these guys don't, they took advantage of guys like me and you. I mean, maybe not, but I think you understand the drift.
Yeah,
Like, so, around money, around the deal, around anything, they always had the upper hand because of the position. And,
right.
people don't talk about, there were a lot of guys tougher than a lot of good fellows. But because they were good fellows, if you were stupid, you'd get yourself in trouble. But if you were smart, you'd have to back off because there's so many of them. I mean, you just can't fight all of them. And people don't talk about this side of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sure. Now that's in your opinion right now. Let's to wrap up the storyline, to wrap up the show right now. In your opinion, I know you've been out of the life for a very long time. I'm sure you see things, read things, news sometimes, depends. Um, I know times have changed.
Huh.
Do you think organized crime, the mob in general, is on its last leg?
In its own and the old way, yes. I think there will be little cells of people, little groups that will form, and they will operate equally, but to commit crimes. It won't be an authoritative, such a like that chain of command anymore. It will be a bunch of people that become friends or make money together and they stick together. And that might be what might happen with that. I was just in New York um, last a week, about 9 days ago, and my friend, he's my friend now, Rob Lewicki, the FBI agent that ran the case that
Mm.
I was in. When he heard I was going to Brooklyn, he told the people I was with and me, just make sure Johnny doesn't get out of the car for a long time. So it's like, yeah, it's not like it used to be. But if you're me, can I afford one mistake? You want to say I'm scared? I don't really care. I'm cautious. I don't want to cause any trouble and I don't want to get hurt. These days it's not how I live. So that was from his mouth. Um,
Well, that's interesting. At least you got some backup.
yeah, I was like, yeah, but he wasn't coming. So I was like, son of a gun, I wish you were coming with me.
That's funny.
Yeah. And all right.
Well, John, look, I thank you very much for coming on the show again. It was awesome. Thanks for a lot of interesting information that people would obviously like to know. Um, I wish you the best, and I hope everything keeps going the way you want. And maybe, oh, by the way, one last thing. From my understanding, are you working on a book about your life?
I okay. I do have a manager and an attorney, and I have like a superstar producer. His name is David Permit that I'm signed with. There to make a film or a limited series.
Right,
Where
that's what it was. Yes, I heard that. Yes.
yeah, and I mean you can look him up. I mean if you see his bio, I mean he made about 40, maybe 50 films. You definitely saw 30 of them. And he's a great guy. He answers all my calls. He calls me. We kibitz. And this is going on 6 years now. We speak almost twice a week. We're trying to get that done, and he has greater. He says we're going to get this made. Don't worry. It takes a while, and
It does.
yeah, and I do. I'm hoping to make a book. I'm hoping to do a lot of things, and I have my life that I get to go back to in Indianapolis, regardless. So, yeah,
Awesome. Well, listen, definitely keep us posted on that. That's for sure.
I
Uh,
will.
yeah, that'd be a great thing to talk about. So,
Okay.
thanks, John. Thanks a lot once again. I wish you luck, and we'll definitely keep in touch.